everyone, good afternoon and welcome to today's Kingston Library Teen ebook review. I'm Fran and today I'm going to be talking about the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I will also say, as I used it yesterday, this is Larry, my bookmark. I thought that might have been a bit confusing, him bobbing about yesterday, but yes, so this is my bookmark. I'm just keeping my place. This is an amazing series that I have just started reading, courtesy of one of my amazing colleagues at the library. She recommended it to me and I am absolutely obsessed. I'm actually on book 4 at the moment and it's been completely consuming me for the past 3 weeks, so I can absolutely 100% recommend this series for anyone who is desperate for a great long series to sink their teeth into. There are 8 books in this series, so there's 6 books of the main series, one sort of prequel collection of short stories, and also one sort of spin-off book that takes place sort of midway through the series about another character. But there is a certain order that these have to be read in, so I'm sure guidance on that can be found online, but if you need any help from me, just ask and I will help you out there if you fancy reading it. The entire series is available on Overdrive as ebooks, so you can find all 8 over there. So yes, Throne of Glass. It is does count as a few of our categories for the Teen Reading Challenge this year. It's number 12, which is a book that's been shortlisted for a number of awards. So it has been, I think it's the American Literary Association Best Teen Award, and category 7, which is the first in a series, so the Throne of Glass is the first in the series, and number 10, which is a book that contains lots of myths and legends. As this book is quite fantasy based, it does contain a lot of fantasy tropes, so there are witches, there are monsters, there's magic, and so that does all sort of play a part, so it fits into the myth and legend category. So Throne of Glass, it's based around this woman named Selena Sardothian. She is sort of a master assassin, and she has lived for the past 10 years under the tutelage of this sort of the king of assassins of this main city. However, she was, before the book began, she was caught and sentenced to be a slave in some salt mines. And so when the book opens, she's still sort of slaving away in these salt mines, and she's been released by the crown prince. And now Selena hates the royal family because the king is a horrible tyrant and he's sort of taking over the rest of the continent rather than just his one country. He's taking over everything and he's wiping out everything in his path. So he's a true sort of awful, evil dictator. And so she absolutely hates the royal family. But the prince is giving her a chance for freedom, basically saying if he releases her, if she competes in a competition, if she wins, she can become the king's champion, so more or less his bodyguard or his own personal assassin. And if she manages to win, she can be the king's champion for 4 years and then she's free. So while she absolutely does hate the royal family and would actually rather kill the king than serve him, she decides to do it just for the sake of her freedom. And so that's what the first book anyway is about. It's about her going through this sort of tournament, if you like. It's got a very sort of Hunger Games-y feel during the kind of the tournament, in terms of that she's a really strong-willed, serious, doesn't take any prisoners, strong female character, and just her going through all the different stages of this tournament against all these men who think sort of she's just this tiny little girl. And so it's definitely one that you want to read if you like a good strong female character. And sort of as she's going through this competition, she finds her principles kind of conflicted as she gets to know the prince and she gets to know other members of the royal court, and tries to sort of see where her real loyalties lie. And also at the same time as well, some of the champions are being, potential champions are being sort of killed off one by some sort of dark creature, and there's sort of the mystery to sort of solve that as well. So there's loads going on. it's just a really great fantasy world as well. While it does have a sort of a dark feel, it really is a great fantasy world that the author has done a great job of building up. I mean, as most great fantasy books do, it has a map at the beginning, so you know where you are. As the characters reference cities and towns and places all over the place, and you think, where is that? So that's helpful at the beginning. So, and just every detail of the culture and everything is just really thought out brilliantly, so you really feel enveloped into this world. And I'll give a short reading here of a section of one of the champion tests. So, suddenly, Selena found herself standing at the white line, looking at the vast length of room before her. Some of the men chuckled, albeit quietly, and she kept her head high as she reached over her shoulder for an arrow and knocked it into her bow. They'd done some archery practice a few days earlier, and she had been excellent, or as excellent as she could be without attracting attention. And she'd killed men from longer shots than the farthest target, clean shots too. She tried to swallow, but her mouth was dry. I am Selena Sardothian, a Darlin's assassin. If these men knew who I was, they'd stop laughing. I am Selena Sardothian. I am going to win. I will not be afraid. She pulled back her bow, the sore muscles in her arm aching with the effort. She shut out all noise, shut out movement, shut out anything other than the sound of her breathing, and her focus narrowed on the first target. She took a steady breath. As she exhaled, she let the arrow fly. Bullseye. The tightness in her stomach abated, and she sighed through her nose. It wasn't an absolute bullseye, but she hadn't been aiming for it anyway. Some men stopped laughing, but she paid them no heed as she knocked another arrow and fired at the second target. She aimed for the edge of the innermost ring, which she hit with deadly precision. She couldn't have made an entire circle of arrows if she wanted, and if she'd had enough ammunition. She got another bullseye on the third target, aiming for the edge but landing within the border. She did the same for the fourth target, aimed for the opposite side of the bullseye. Where she aimed, the arrow hit its mark. As she reached for the last arrow, she heard one of her competitors, a red-haired mercenary named Renaud, snigger. She clenched her bow tightly enough for the wood to groan and pulled back her final shot. The target was little more than a blur of colour, so far back that its bullseye was a grain of sand in the vastness of the room. She couldn't see the little dot at its centre, the dot that no one had yet to touch, even Cain. Selena's arms trembled with effort as she pulled the string back a bit farther and fired. The arrow hit the absolute centre, obliterating the black dot. They stopped laughing. No one said anything to her when she stalked away from the line and tossed her bow back onto the cart. Cale only scowled at her. Obviously she hadn't been that inconspicuous, but Dorian smiled. She sighed and joined the competitors waiting for the competition to finish, keeping well away from all of them. Yeah, so that's a section of the book there to show just how skilled she is. She's just so awesome. She's such an excellent character, and just a character that always has to prove never to be underestimated. Another thing I will mention, I have forgotten to mention this, but this series is probably best for ages 15 and above. It is a T+, so any library books you'll see that has a T+, would say treat it as if it were maybe like a 15 rated movie. As you might have guessed, this book has a little bit of violence in it, so we'd say probably no younger than 15 probably to read this series, but this is an equally great book for adults to read as well as teens over the age of 15. It's genuinely brilliant and so gripping, and it, as the story goes on, it gets more and more intense, and you will not be able to put these books down, I promise you. So, that is our book for today, The Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Have you read any other books by Sarah J. Maas, or would you like to check this one out? Let us know what you think. Those are all our reviews for this week, and we'll be back next week with some more. See you later, everyone. Bye.